here for another episode of Star Wars Alternate History. And today's episode is a little bit different. We aren't going to be in the Star Wars universe for this one. Promise not to do too many like this one. But our question is still an interesting one. Is what if Star Wars didn't exist, was never popular? So Star Wars has been proven to be noteworthy in our history. The first thing I'm going to say to prove this, that it's had an impact on culture, is that it was one of the first of 25 movies in the US's National Film Registry in the 90s. Only 25 movies make it per year, and 2 out of 6 of the 2 out of 3 of the original films both made it in there. So, first of all, obviously, if Star Wars didn't exist or was never popular, probably wouldn't have been put into the National Film Registry. But this question goes much further than that. So, the first thing is, there would need to be a replacement for Star Wars, something that would fill its gap in culture. The first thing you think of in the US is Star Trek. Though the two universes are quite different, and one is much more fantasy based than the other, while the other is much more of a science fiction, they both fill the same area and the same people love them. The difference is now there's no Star Wars. So, what's going to fill the gap for all the Star Wars fans? Probably Star Trek. Now, this could easily be other movies, such as Marvel could rule this area for some people. Difference is, it's not going to be Star Wars anymore. So, all the money that Lucasfilm made from Star Wars stuff is now going to other franchises. Maybe we'd have more Star Trek content, or maybe we'd have more Marvel content. The point is, the fan base would find something else to latch onto. For all we know, a different really popular movie would be made that the fan base would launch onto that was similar to Star Wars. So that's the first thing I'm going to point out. Oh, and in Britain, this might be Doctor Who. You guys get the point. Anyways, the thing is, many people found their passion in Star Wars were drawn into these other universes. So, next thing we're going to look at is toys. Lego series definitely, it in my mind has been very important to part of Lego's success as a company, as the franchise of Star Wars drew people into Lego as it is something they recognized and loved, and then they started building Legos and were like, yeah, I love this. So it's part of Lego's success in the recent years. Even though Lego is falling in 2004, I have a feeling since its rise since then, Star Wars Legos have been a part of their success. Not to mention the many other toy companies that are out there, such as Hasbro, who have made tons of minifigures, not minifigures, action figures for different reasons for people to buy. So all the toy jobs and other jobs such as um filming jobs and whatnot that Star Wars created would no longer be filled. To go along with that, Star Wars authors and comic writers would no longer have Star Wars as a way to make their products. Their comic lines are never going to be put through Star Wars. Timothy Zahn is never going to write his famous book, Heir to the Empire. Instead, they're going to write their own stories. Some of these authors do this anyways, but instead it's going to be purely their own, or they're going to make it these other franchises such as Star Trek, Doctor Who, or Marvel that would become much more popular. So it basically changes some job areas such as toys, and toy companies aren't going to have this opportunity for money more in the Star Wars universe, depending on whether or not something comes to replace it. Another thing go along with this is several actors became really famous off of their roles in Star Wars. Notably, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford went on to play Indiana Jones and many other roles. He recently played Colonel Graff in Ender's Game. And if it weren't for his role in Star Wars, he probably would have remained no one or wouldn't have been recognized till much later as a notable actor. The thing is, Han Solo and Indiana Jones are his most famous roles, and without Star Wars, there's the possibility that Indiana Jones wouldn't have been produced. Now, Steven Spielberg may have still had the idea, but he also worked along with George Lucas on this, who probably had a lot of money made from Star Wars and was able to help produce it. Not that Steven Spielberg didn't have the money either to produce the movie. But Indiana Jones might not be here without Lucasfilm having become popular from Star Wars. So, and there are several other movies that have come out because of Lucasfilm as well, whether indirectly Lucasfilm was one of the unannounced producers, such as Land Before Time, or whether it would have been Red Tails that came out in recent years. Those movies would likely never be released. Another thing we often recognize that many people probably just neglect is the impact of culture, ideals, or jokes that have rang forth from Star Wars. For example, May the 4th, I Am Your Father, and many others. I Am Your Father is probably one of the more notable ones, as people often like to play puns on this. And also, May the 4th is just a fun little thing for Star Wars fans. But these jokes are no longer going to be around without Star Wars. So, people aren't going to be as funny. I guess that's one way to put it. It's also basically going to ruin some possible culture stuff that would show up. Uh, the other thing we have to note is Star Wars additions to the movie industry. I believe in both cases, in both the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, the Star Wars movies made some advances in the movie industry. They came up with new technology in order to make their movies. They made better quality movies. You name it, both times the movies came up with new technologies or new ways of doing things or new computer programming techniques, animation techniques in order to improve the movies. Now, don't ask me what those techniques were. I just know that Star Wars had an impact in that area. So, without Star Wars, these techniques may take a little longer in order to come up with because Star Wars atmosphere for movie making was different in the fact that it was a science fiction. So, you kind of had to be creative in coming up with some stuff. So, maybe other popular movies won't be as good, or it'd be harder to um, or just be hard to produce movies. So, yeah. Tell me what you guys thought of this topic, and please give me some ideas for other ones. Just remember, Star Wars has had a great impact on our culture, whether or not you recognize it. And there are many people who have been impacted, whether directly or indirectly, from the benefit of Star Wars. This is Indiana. See you guys later.